This is the Zone Football League.
You ready? I'm good.
Welcome back to another episode of Zone In Podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. As always, I'm Mason. Joining me here today is Wilso. Wilso, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Good to be here. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Missed you last week.
CT had a run the week before, and
Yep.
so yeah, good to be back and looking forward to the match of the round this week. It's a big one. Both sides are doing well, and yeah, good to catch up.
For sure. Joining us in the studio today are Mayfield United Seniors. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Look, first of all, thank you very much for inviting us along. A special week for us at the club, which we'll go into a little bit. For anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Wayne Richards. They call me Rugger around the club because I've been there for a long time. And been the club president for 23 years. So, yeah, that's me in a short bit. My involvement with the club has been a long time. As I said, it was I originally went to Mayfield Park 2 days after I was born. My dad, who was a life member of the club as well for over 50 years, so he couldn't miss training for me to go. So the green and white's in my blood.
I'm Lachlan Hill, the first grade head coach, a player when I can actually get fit and get on a field. Yeah, as Rugger said, all of us sitting here, we've been at Mayfield for quite a while now. I think this is my 6th or 7th year. I had a sabbatical throughout one, but yeah, it's really good to be here and really good that we can, chat about the club and let people in on a little bit of history about, what this weekend's about and what Mayfield's about.
No, I'm Connor. I'm first grade captain. Obviously, the boys pretty much covered most of it. I've been at the club for 5 years, and yeah, I can't explain how good this club is. We have so much fun together, and obviously we're having a pretty good season so far. And yeah, hopefully we can get a good result on the weekend.
Good to hear from you, boys. And just straight off the bat, I'm gonna nail you. Is the last time you got a haircut 5 years ago as well, or what's the go with that?
Yeah, look, I in my younger years I used to have a long blonde afro, but obviously I'm not follically gifted, and I'm going bald. So I've shaved my head, hasn't come back the same, and I'm just trying some new things.
You just hold on to it, mate. You can comb it in circles, use a fork. There's so many ways to make it look like it's still going well.
I'm just doing what I can with what I got. Having a bit of fun with it.
If you're tall, it's not too bad either. People can't see any bald spots. So.
Yeah, I normally run with my head back.
Tips. It's still looking pretty cool. Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
The little bit at the back just sets it off.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Just start with that little icebreaker there, but on a football topic, you guys touched on as well the season so far. As we sit here, still after all these washout weekends, we do hope to get on. But if we can think and remember back to before the rain, how do you guys think you started the season and all the way back in pre-season, first couple of games? Obviously, the table and results can speak volumes, but you guys yourself, how do you think you've gone so far?
Well, yeah, pre-season feels like a lifetime ago now. I guess it's been a little bit of a change-up in terms of, since I've been at Mayfield, we've been a pretty consistent club in terms of, players and people around the club and being loyal to guys that have, wanted to battle and fight for us. And this year was a little bit of a change where it kind of got to a point where players that we've had at the club were sort of getting to a point via age, family commitments and things like that. And we needed a little bit of a refresh. And, Rugger and I had multiple conversations about, who can we, look to bring in, what type of player, what type of person was the biggest thing for us. We identified that. We had conversations between ourselves around, what can we change, what can we improve on, and we've tried to do that. We kind of live in a little bit of a bubble at our club where we're just, focusing on us and working together to try and achieve things. And it's all a learning phase for me, especially, for all the boys in there together. But all I've asked and all we've done pretty much from day dot is show up, work hard, and the biggest thing for me is if we all work hard together, we'll achieve what we want to do and do that. And we've had some good results. We've also had some not good results, which is all part and parcel of the game. It's just about trying to keep things consistent. There's always going to be ups and downs, but keeping consistent, keeping people fit is one of the big things. And hopefully with the rain going away, touch wood, we can start to get some consistency back on the field. Getting training sessions in will be a big help. Getting back out there.
For sure. And just looking, I know I've straight away picking on looks here, but besides your arms looking like an adult's colouring book, your face, you look quite young. How old are you?
25.
25. So to be a head coach of a Zone 1 team at 25, that's surely, I don't know, we'd have to find some stats around that, but you've surely got to be one of the youngest in the Zone 1, let alone the whole comp.
And what's your journey to get to that? Like where?
Yeah.
To get to decide to be a coach at that age?
That's a good question.
Because you'll be bald soon if you coach for too long.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
There's it's funny you say that. That's one of the biggest things that we have amongst our boys is making fun of people who are follically challenged. And we have, trust me, when the wind comes out on Mayfield Park, there's a lot more boys than just Craney that are struggling for that. But it's been a long journey. In terms of becoming a coach, since I've been at Mayfield, I've always been interested in helping people and helping players and being able to offer maybe some advice or some experience that some of the boys at Mayfield might not have had, that I was lucky enough to have. I've never been afraid to speak my mind or help or interject with messages or comments, and it's kind of just flowed on from there. I was lucky enough to have a really good mentor in Pete Woodford, who was the first grade coach for quite a significant amount of time, and he was always willing and welcoming for me to be able to make comments, address players, speak to him freely in terms of maybe what I thought or what I saw. There was a few years there where I was his assistant while still playing and everything as well. I came back from Queensland on my sabbatical last year. Rugger and I were kind of just at the park having a beer one day, and we spoke about the future and what we wanted to do, and the conversation really just came up around what do we want to do moving forward. I mean, I guess from your point of view, Rugger, the club speaking to Pete and everything like that, but from my point of view, when Rugger said, is this something you'd be interested in, I couldn't think of anything better.
And from your perspective then as well, I'm thinking as well about the other players that you've got in the squad. It's quite a younger squad as well. So what was your decision behind giving the head coach to someone so young? And was it a thing of a young squad, a young coach maybe, or tell us what got you to that decision?
Look, I think, and I guess I'm going to talk a little bit, it's a little bit the Mayfield way.
Yep.
And very early on, as I said, I was president for a long time and I was a first grade coach. We've always been a club that's had very good mateship. And our leaders are also our mates. And we've been lucky over probably the last 15, 16 years, the club's been quite successful. And it's been built on, 3 good coaches that come through who are very much mates with the players, but also leaders. Now, that was David Tancheski when he started coaching. He started at Mayfield and was very, very tight with his players, very good communicator. Then we had Peter Terry, who was at Edgeworth and Western, etc., but just come in with a very strong attitude, lifted our standards, and really talked about what we called the Mayfield Way. And that was mateship, never letting anybody down. And then Pete Woodford carried on that scenario. So Locke's always been a leader since he's been at the club. You know, we've had him in roles. We always knew he was going to be a coach, and we gave him a third grade coaching position to understand working with younger players, etc. So he'd probably already been earmarked for it for quite a while because he just fitted our dynamic, and we knew that the players followed him, and he has got a strong leadership. When I discussed with him was our thoughts on taking the club forward now since promotion and relegation come in was doing it our way and putting ourselves in a position of starting to bring through a team that can develop together. And we can go up together, we're young. So we've never been a club that sort of brings in, I suppose, the big player or the big players. We just like to get down and do it. And so we sort of sat down, we identified what we needed to do. You know, we've had a very successful 10 years, but that's been on a very stable squad. Locke didn't say it, but they got older. And that's as simple as that. And the competition's got better and faster each year. So we've brought in a lot of young players, covering as what we thought we had a fairly good squad going forward, but we needed something different if we're going to take ourselves to go forward. And
so on that, does the club and yourself have the aspirations to then go that next step to Northern League, NPL, and just keep pushing now that when you mentioned about promotion relegation as well?
Yeah, look, I think as a club we've always had that we wanted to do that. But what we want to do is we want to do it right and be ready. And I think the promotion relegation, the way it is right now, is you're rewarded to come first. And I think when you come first, you've done the work to be there. And we never ever wanted to just apply and be put in there as the 10th team just to make up a competition. We wanted to go when we're right, and that's what we're aiming to do. So, yeah, where it takes us, we will see. But I always refer back to, you know, clubs that were our old sparring partners like Lambton Jaffers and New Lambton and Cooks Hill. You know, until that opportunity was there, their clubs have grown so quickly. And until that opportunity has really come to us, we now don't know where we can go. We can aim.
Yeah.
And the players you're talking about that you've brought in, like they're all young players. I just happened to be having a conversation about football on a job site, like we all do, and there was a Mayfield senior player. He was listening to the conversation. We started talking about Bar TV, and I think he'd come from Hamilton or Azuri, or where did you get your players from? And he also told me that he's had a bit of a strategy of trying to come in under the radar this season. There wasn't any. You weren't putting anything on social media, and was that a strategy that you were bringing some players in and you weren't allowing people to know who you were bringing in, and you were just going to try and fly under the radar, which I think you have done really well? Is that
up until recently when you started getting up in the top there and obviously doing something right?
Wasn't a strategy. Look, our strategy is that's always been us. We were very, you know, when we bring the players together. And whoever we've brought to the club, we're given exactly the same spiel as each other. You know, if you're good enough to play first grade and you put in the work, you'll get picked, and no one's guaranteed a spot. So we don't put any player up in headlights. Yeah. Our belief is the 11 guys that go on that field, or the 15 guys that end up going on that field, have all got to put in a shift, and they're all as important as each other. I mean, it's just not Craney banging in the goals. You need some help sometimes. So.
Well, we have had a look at recently on the social media the Golden Boot at the moment. I don't think I saw your name there. So, but as Ruggers spoke about them with the squad and treating everyone the same, no one in a spotlight. How does that? So for you as a player. How does that sing true? And from your perspective, being out in the park, and with all the boys, and obviously leading the boys as well then?
Yeah, well, I guess obviously, as we've mentioned, there's a lot of new boys that have come in. So sort of Hilly in the dressing room, we've sort of just got our individual jobs. No one's treated differently. He tells us what we need to do. We go out there, we do what we need to do. And if you know what you're doing and you know what your job is and you do it, then that's when we normally get our best results. So I think obviously leading the boys out, the new fellas, like we've got a really, really, really good bunch of boys there. They're very young. There's a lot of potential there, but obviously we want to sort of mould them to our club and the way that our club runs.
Mm-hmm.
So
And any
Question that you could all answer maybe differently or probably all the same. I'm listening to your conversation, and I mean, when I say a soft spot, like I've known a lot of players and people that are involved with Mayfield over the years. I started grade in '88, and Mayfield were in the old second division then. And I remember going to that little field in amongst the houses, and you were always on, they always played, and just had a really good feel about it. Guys like, Phil Coyne was there, who later played, and I'm really good mates with Pete Terry, and I decided to get on, and Paul Spark, who's a life member there, I played with his son Josh, and coached him as well, and so there was always talk about Mayfield United, and obviously when I played against it, was always a tough game, but I thought I'd look up a little bit of stuff, and I got onto a video of one of your old boys' days where you just got in and you spoke to the life members and women as well that have their partners or whoever's been involved with the club, and I just thought it just gave me a really good idea of what the club's about, and I think just talking to you as well, it's just a family club, and just the way they spoke about it, and there's Bobby Evans there, who was like a kit manager when I was at the Breakers, and his grandson played with my son, so it's just like seeing these people on there, and Paul Spark, and remembering the stories, but like hearing you now, that's just what the club's about, isn't it? It's just built on family and friendships, and now you're looking to bring some quality in. There's always been quality there, but you're just sort of aligning yourself with being able to go through the grades as well without losing what the club's all about.
Look, exactly. And if that comes across, that's fantastic, because that's what we're aiming for. Probably the music to me was when I took over this, and well, as I came through, and my dad used to say to me is, when he spoke to the teams, was all we're asking for is you go out there and you give 100%. But one of the things is we want people to know, or other teams know, that when they come to Mayfield Park, they're in for a game of football.
Yeah, which it was.
And it was
tough.
always a tough place to play, and that's what we pride ourselves on.
And you touched on as well, Wilso, being like the family vibe and everything. And you mentioned earlier your father, a life member as well, for many, many years. What, besides obviously just that as a title, what does that mean to yourself to then almost carry on like a legacy for your family, passing on from your dad to you then, being a life member, being involved in the club your whole life?
I don't really think about it. I think I've always just done it, and I've always loved it.
But it's like a good feeling going into a ground, but sometimes you need that, like after work or after anything that might be going on in your life, and you just feel comfortable there. And I can see like Edgy's the same for me.
Yep.
So you walk in there and you got people around you that they bring you up all the time. So all clubs need it, and there's always someone at the club that's been around forever, and sounds like that's you. So.
Yeah, it was never planned. I remember saying to my wife, 23 years ago, I'll just do president for a couple of years and get him out of trouble, and then I'll be right, and still there. So, yeah, look, and it has been that family. I mean, we've got who's our groundsman now and life member, Gavin McAnally. I think it's great granddad was the secretary in 1922 when we started.
There's always so many good
and has
backstories,
stayed so long in our club, over 100 years from his family involvement, and then my granddad come in, and then my father, and then myself. So, yeah.
And does that, do you feel like you've got a responsibility to work hard for the club as a player, and obviously as a coach and a player, but you're leading the team. Is that something you draw upon? Just that, the responsibility of working hard for people that have done it before you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we get to games, and whether it's, old boys day or anything like that, you run out to warm up, and there's, the whole shed end is, filled of ex-players and people that have been around, even people who don't, they just live around the area. Yeah. They come in and they want to watch the game and have a beer and, cheer and yell, and it's
which is actually rare in now, like even in the higher leagues, you don't get people that aren't, closely affected to the club just wandering in going, I want to watch some football today, which is terrific. Yeah,
it's really good. And like when I first came to Mayfield, I was blown away by the family feeling of what the club was, being someone coming in, not really knowing anyone, not knowing anything about the club, to, being accepted, and, the mateship, and, you've known a bloke for, 12 months, and, you're going to their wedding, and that's just what the club is about. And, I make sure, and Craney makes sure, that every time we go out on the field, every training session that we have that standard, not just for ourselves, but because that's how the club is perceived, and that's how we want the club to be perceived. And it's more than just you as an individual going out there and doing your job. It's, it's about the club. We spoke about that, we wanted to bring players in, but we had to make sure that those players wanted to play for our club. Not we obviously want players to play for us, but we don't want to bring people in who don't want to play for us. That was our biggest thing, that making sure that, we're all a part of it together, and that, we're going to work hard for each other, because there are going to be, tough times, and, there's going to be times where your back's against the wall, and you want to make sure that everyone out there with you is willing to work as hard as you are for the club to get a result.
And just wanted to take a minute to thank all of our great sponsors of the Zone In podcast. We have Deploy Football, the leading developers and manufacturers of performance sporting solutions, not only just including our awesome balls, and also sportswear, with all of our grassroots clubs in helping them design and produce amazing apparel. One of our other major sponsors, Solved Marketing. If you want your problems solved are the ones to go with. Helping businesses, brands solve complex challenges with ingenuity and creative solutions. Solved Marketing is our go-to agency for all of our marketing needs, and we cannot recommend them enough. And finally, Harry Schnitzel Joint. You guys know every week Man of the Match is presented with the Harry Schnitzel Award. Definitely go check Harry Schnitzel out. And we know that all the Man of the Match recipients have been so excited to get their Harry Schnitzel Man of the Match Award and get down to Harry Schnitzel Joint. Club being in the position that it's in at the moment in Zone League and I'll come back to you, Rugger, in a sec to get your thoughts on it. But Connor, for you, you've been elsewhere around in the Western Premier League and everything. How's the Zone League in Newcastle compared to maybe higher levels, and the clubs you've played at in those levels compared to Mayfield?
Well, obviously, I grew up in Central West New South Wales, so in Dubbo, and the football there, it's very different to coming down to Newcastle and sort of playing the metro sort of football. Obviously, Zone League is a little bit quicker than what I was first used to. So obviously when I had first arrived in Newcastle in 2021, I think it was, I sort of was very nervous coming into sort of Newcastle football, because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But obviously Hilly welcomed me with open arms, and got to know the boys pretty well. And it's just a massive step. It was quicker. Newcastle football was quicker than where I was. So, it's a faster game based on ball movement, you're obviously playing ex-NPL players, like blokes who have been playing sort of the top level. Obviously coming from the country and playing against sort of like a lower sort of level of football, it was difficult coming, but obviously the clubs welcomed me with open arms, and I'm lucky enough to lead them around the park, and I'm very excited to walk out on the Bully Day with the captain arm.
Yeah, awesome. And then for you, Rugger, your thoughts on Zone Football League as an entity in itself? Obviously, you've been around it for a long time now. The changes that you've maybe seen over the years, and the good and the bad, the direction it's gone into now. What's your thoughts on how the league's shaping at the moment?
Look, it's a cracker. It is a really good league at the moment. I think from the point from when it started, and I think the Zone started, I remember it was about 2010.
Yep.
We started in the Zone, and I actually probably felt back in them days it was more of a retirement league. It was the players coming back from, NPL that just wanted to turn up and not train 2 nights a week. And it started to become that sort of little bit, and it just held its position. Promotion and relegation was brought in through the zones, and obviously not up into the Northern League competition. And then the cream started to rise to the top. And I think what we're seeing now from this year is every club has lifted both on and off the park. And I think there's a carrot at the end.
Yep.
And that can only be a good thing, and again, the cream will rise to the top. The clubs that are doing it right, they've got their plans, etc. It's coming, it's a tough competition. You don't turn up, you get beat.
Yeah.
It's a good standard. I feel it's a great standard. Some of the games we've watched.
And from your being in the NPL
Yeah,
circle,
they're
talking about it up there.
They are talking about it, and obviously, the Crabs beating New Lantern, and there's also talk around that you didn't want to get one of the Zone League teams because most of them are flying, and what I've seen is it's a really good quality. I think it's a good mix that a few players are coming back, and like you said, they're not just coming back for a holiday anymore. They still want to continue their football journey, and there's that advice they're giving and that knowledge and the ability. But then there's the young players who may have to work or whatever the reasons are they're down in that league. It's not based on ability. There's always a lot of variables, and that's what I'm seeing. You're seeing some really good players, and I'm going away from games I'm thoroughly enjoying the commentating of it. But sometimes I'm hoping the game doesn't end. So I'm really enjoying it. And I guess the question for you guys is, where do you think you sit? I know it's hard until you've played every game, and when you think about where you're sitting until you've played everyone once, it's hard because there's teams like University who are, they probably weren't expected to be going about where they are, and obviously the Suns in Croatia are, everyone's tipping them to be, at the top.
And then your opponents for this weekend,
Katara,
kind of under the radar now, top of the ladder. I guess.
Yeah, just like,
do you
at this stage, do you think you can win the comp to go up, or is it just a building? Let's make the semis this year, or is it? But it's just that close.
That's definitely a question for you.
Yeah, it's that close. Like, what are your goals? I mean, I've been a coach. It's you want to win everything, but what in reality, what are you thinking?
Yeah, of course. Of course, you want to win as many games as possible, and you want to compete. I guess the biggest thing for me, and the conversations that Rugger and I had at the start of the year is about being competitive. We always want to make sure that, and as Rugger said before, that whenever someone comes to Mayfield Park or whenever we go to an opposition ground, that we are competitive and they know that they're there. In terms of where we're at, I think that in terms of young players bringing through new squad, I'm happy. Obviously, there's always going to be things that we can improve on. There's just so many factors that go into it in terms of, who went out the night before, injuries, things like availabilities,
and everything
The
like
captain
that.
can't go out the night before.
I think he plays better. But yeah, there's just so many things that go into it. I'm an ambitious person, so I'm confident that if we put our best foot forward and we compete and we do all the right things, that on our day we can beat anyone. But in the same sentence, every other team is like that as well, and they understand that what their qualities are, and it's all really fine margins. We want to build, but as Rugger said, we want to do it the right way. And the new boys coming in, and even the current players that we've got, we play a significantly different way this year than we have in previous years. So that's a learning curve for everyone as well. And it takes all of those things to click together at the right time to be able to be as successful as possible. And one or two of those things that don't click can be the difference between, winning the comp, not winning the comp, being promoted and not being promoted. So at the moment, our focus is just on being out on the park and taking it game by game and making sure that for that 90 minutes that we're out on the field, that we're, doing the best that we can and working hard and not focusing too much on other teams and who we're playing against. I'm quite confident in all the players that we have in our squad. For those, 20 blokes that are playing in and out, that they're good enough, and I believe in them enough that when they go out there, we can beat anyone. And all the boys, I think, believe that in themselves, that when we want to, we can be good, and we can score goals, and we can win games.
Just as you were talking,
very diplomatic. Though.
I was going to say very.
You'd be very good in front of a press conference.
I was going to say
that was terrific. You had me fooled then, that you didn't want to win the comp this year.
As you're speaking as well, I just had a memory of definitely seeing Craney's mullet getting sweaty on the dance floor at the sunny side of the Mayfield Hotel. So I definitely reckon he has been going out before games, that's for sure.
Don't rule that out this weekend.
So, Craney, what's your celebration if you score this weekend? You got a special one, or you got a weird one?
It's pretty rare that I get on the sheet. So if I score,
run to your coach. They love that.
I could belly slide, rip the kid off, anything.
Get a shirt off. Get your shirt off.
I'm trying to get that image not stuck in my head now. Speaking of the game this weekend, is the Bar TV match of the round, Mayfield United versus Katara South. But it's more than just a match of the round for Zone League. It is the Bully Memorial Day. Sorry, pardon my words. But Rugger, if you want to give us a little explanation on who Wayne Bull was and what the day's about.
Yeah, so it's our Wayne Bull Memorial Day. So Wayne Bull was a player, clubman, life member of Mayfield, who we tragically lost in the Pasha-Bolka storm. And it was certainly a tough time at the club. Wayne had played for the club for 25 years. As I said, he was a life member. And plenty of people asked me, who was he? And the simple thing was, he was just a good bloke. He wasn't a committee member or anything like that, but he was the first person that you'd want to sign in your club. He's the first person as a coach you'd want playing in your team. And as a player, he was the first person you wanted beside you every week. And, he was a proud Tiger. And one we dearly miss. When I came and started off as president and I was the first grade coach, I used to come around to training every time I'd go to open the dressing sheds, and he'd be waiting there. I don't know what time he used to get there because I never beat him, but I'd get there well before the players, and we'd have to do a rundown of the whole club, so he was that interested in who we were. And one of the last things I remember, and probably just show what sort of clubman was, the club had a dark 10 years. When I came back, we'd been promoted up into the level above, which was New FM /Northern One, and we probably just weren't right to go. We'd sort of gone up when we were going down after a few successful years, and then we got asked and went up and struggled. And then we came back down to the inner district level that we're at now, and continue to struggle. And for 10 years, you finish in the second last or third last or even the last. Very, very hard to attract players, etc. We sort of started to come through that in the 2007 when this happened. We were starting to win games again, and from a club we started to expand into women's, etc. And in them days it was a little bit different to have a women's team. So some say, why are you going down that path? And I sat with Wayne one of the last times, and he said, "How's the women's team going?" And I said, "Look, they're struggling." I said, "I don't know what will happen." And he said, "Well, the reality is we have to support them. They're Mayfield Tigers." And that was the sort of bloke he was. He just was there all the time. We put it in for you, and played. So the day started in his honour. It was a very sad day, and we were, past players come and we tell our stories and stand on the hill, etc. But over time, it grew into a celebration of the club. So the way the club operates, I suppose, this weekend is we've brought it all together: our past and present player day, our sponsors day, the Wayne Memorial Day. We're all bringing it all together on one day to give us, that. Not only that, it's classified as the Memorial Day as well. So when you're a club, unfortunately, as old as we are, if we lose any members or past players, we honour them on this day as well. And we've got a couple to do on that were lost over the last year since the last Wayne Bull Day. And it's just a day that their mates and all of us who have been mates can celebrate in a different way. As some of the sadness has gone out of it, but it will always be sad.
So would you say it's almost, instead of a sad environment, it's more a celebration of the life that they lived and what they brought to the club as well?
Yeah, correct. And I said before, anybody that's played one game is a Mayfield Tiger, and that was the way that we always talked about it. So on Saturday, that's how we'll celebrate the day, and we'll bring it all together. And the sun's going to shine.
Sure will.
And we look forward to it.
Yeah, that's great. And then, obviously, any kind of club celebration day, whether it be in the name of someone or just the celebrating the club itself, would mean a lot for the people representing the club out in that field as well. So how does this day for you, Lachie and Connor, make you guys feel? And do you prepare any differently? Is the atmosphere in the playing group different at all in a good or a bad way? Let us know. Tell us how the preparations are for this game, maybe different to other games.
Look, from a coaching point of view, it's important to try and control the emotion of the players going out there. Obviously, you want to make them aware how important the day is, but I don't want to hype on about it too much, because then people start making silly decisions out on the field due to emotion. I need to go and win that ball when maybe you don't need to go and step out and win that ball and things like that. So there's trying to balance that is important for me. But in terms of making the players aware of the day, of course. But none of the boys in our team lack any motivation going out week in, week out. So for us, it's going to be a big celebration and a really good day to remember and honour all of the people. But at the end of the day, it's still a game that we have to play, and it's still a game that we have to win. So we have to make sure that we're smart in our preparation, diligent in our preparation, and it's still a game of football.
Yeah, I think as a player, I've played, this will be my 5th bully day. Obviously, it's a special day. We get down there early. There's people everywhere. We've got all the Mayfield old boys sitting up in the tent next to the sheds.
obviously everyone's having a drink, everyone's having a good time. We got food trucks, we got stuff like that. It's more sort of like a family event. Like everyone comes down, everyone supports it, and like obviously the results help. But I think it's more for the club, the day. It means a lot to the players. We get out there, we put in 100% every week, and obviously we're going to do our best on the weekend to get a result.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, I'm sure you would know from a coaching perspective as well that the hype around it definitely can bring players together or a bit unstuck. But no, by the sound of what you guys have said then, sounds like you guys are really prepared, level, and ready just to go out and do it for the right reasons, really.
Yeah, I think as Connor kind of said, it's a really good day. But yeah, we just, all the boys just want to play footy. Really, like we haven't played footy in what feels like forever. And I think that's going to help in terms of the atmosphere for the day. You know, we haven't been back to Mayfield Park for a few weeks, so that's only going to help. You know, I'm still tossing up whether I'm going to put the boots on or not to play in the day or not. But yeah, it's
by his reaction, it looks like you shouldn't.
Yeah. I had a run around on Tuesday night, and there was a couple of sideways looks saying, "Are you sure you want to do that? Do you really want to do that?" But it's just
we'll keep our team to ourselves.
It's just an awesome day, and everyone wants to be a part of it. So yeah, we're very much looking forward to it.
No, that's good. And like I just say, everyone's looking forward to it. I'm sure the old boys, past, present players, and we give our respects to Wayne Bull's family as well, whether they're at the event. But
they'll definitely be there.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then also you mentioned it's your sponsors day as well. So is there any specific sponsors you'd like to shout out while you're on the podcast here?
Look, all of our sponsors. I mean, obviously our major sponsors in the Mayfield Hotel and the Sunnyside Hotel, you know, have been long-term sponsors for us now. I think we must be pushing 8 or 9 years, I suppose. So moved around. A lot of new sponsors. So I don't want to try and name them and miss one. But you know, another long-term sponsor we've had has been Redback Solutions. They've been with us now for 4 or 5 years. And we've been lucky that we've had sponsors that return each year to us. So they're a good crew by the sound of it that are turning up, and hopefully they bring some noise.
For sure. And yeah, it's great to have you guys look like you've got a healthy amount of sponsors supporting the club. And yeah, in this competition that we're in and football in this day, its sponsors are almost just as important as the players, coaches, the club people in making the clubs what they are, and making sure that the club can thrive well. So it's great that you have amazing sponsors, as you say, that have stayed on and supported. And yeah, it's good to see sponsors across the board for all our teams. So great that you can shout them out. And Wilso, do you have anything else before
we've covered it? Really, it's great to have you guys on. And it's good to hear some old names that I've heard of, and I wish you all the best. Like I said, it's a great little ground down there, and I just think it's going to be pumping on Saturday. And just we can't say that we want you to beat Katara, but we wish you all the best. And it's just a pleasure to have you on. And you know, it's good to have good people in, and good club people, and I've known that about Mayfield for a long time. So
as Wilso said, good luck on the weekend, guys, and it's been great having you on.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.
This is the Zone Football League.